I know, mate.
Okay.
Good evening, everybody. Just prior to the full council meeting, we do have a meeting of the Woodley Memorial Recreation Ground charity. First item on the agenda for that meeting is apologies.
We have apologies from councillors Anderson, Bellow, Charles Bay, Edwards, Holmes, Horskins, Smith and Stone.
Thank you very much. And just to note, there are some councillors won't have been to a meeting with the trustees in this way. This meeting you are attending as trustees of the Memorial Ground charity, not as councillors of the town council in that sense. And just to comment on the report that you've got here, this is the charity to provide its permission for funding for a project which has already been, the location of it by the town council. Second item there is for the appointment of the chairman for this meeting. Do you have any nominations for a chairperson for the meeting? Any other nominations? And can we take a vote on that, please, for Councillor Brown?
11-4.
Okay, and those against?
No against.
And abstaining.
2 abstentions.
Thank you. I'll hand over to you. Thank
you. Good evening, everyone. Sorry about that. Can everyone hear? Right, thank you. So item 3 on the agenda then is declarations of interest. Do we have any declarations of interest? No, then let's move on to item 4, which is the King's Orchard Garden. I hope everyone's had the opportunity to read the report of the town clerk. But has anyone any comments at all on that? I'm not sure which of you put your hand up first, Beth.
Yes, Chairman, thank you for enabling me to speak. I think this is an absolutely brilliant idea. Make some use of the land, put some more trees in, and provides food and fuel for the residents of Woodley. It's a no-brainer, really.
Thank you. Harold.
Yes, it seems an opportunity if we're planting trees, depending on what time of year, that we put some bulbs in at the same time. I don't know if that's something had been considered, especially for planting before Christmas, they could go in. And the second thing was with herbs, it's great to get that smell, but if they're right down on the ground, unless you get down there, you're not going to. I wonder if they were going to be raised at all.
They are, you're exactly right.
And the bulbs possible?
Yeah, I think it's in the plan, but I'll talk to the amenities manager about that. We can include that. Yeah.
So, do we have any more questions or comments at all? So, let's, with no comments, other than recommendations from Beth and from Carol, Let's move straight on to the recommendation. The recommendation is that the charity approve the creation and location of the King's Community Orchard as set out in the report. Can I ask for a vote, please? All those in favour?
14-4,
Do we have any against?
none,
Do we have any abstentions?
none.
Thank you. Then that is carried. And that is the end of the meeting. Thank you very much. We still have a couple of minutes to go before ladies and gentlemen, we've got 3 or 4 minutes before the official town meeting is due to start. So we'll just sit and buy time for those 4 minutes in the hope that our guest speaker arrives. Right, good evening everyone, and the Woodley Town Council being held today, the 24th of September 2024. Woodley Town Council meetings are now recorded, with recording streamed live and stored on Town Council's YouTube channel. By virtue of attending this meeting, you consent to having your image and audio recorded for this purpose. If you do not wish for your image and audio to be recorded, then please do not stay for the meeting. For those in attendance, we're not expecting the fire drill tonight, So if you hear the fire alarm, please head to the nearest fire exit and congregate at the fire assembly point by the Oakwood Centre at the front of Woodford Park. Right. Prior to meetings of the full council, we hold the town forum, which is an opportunity for members of the public to pose any questions they may have to the council. This is limited to a maximum of 30 minutes. Michael, do you have any questions? Okay. And in the absence of any members of the public, in the absence of any questions, we will now proceed. Prior to the meeting tonight, we have Roland Cundy, who's the chair of the Berkshire Association of Local Councils, and he's going to provide us with a presentation. Roland, over to you. Did you want to use the microphone?
If that's possible. Can I just sit down and have it now? Yes. Seems to be working. Good evening, everybody. As announced, I'm Roland Cundy, Chairman of the Berkshire Association of Local Council. I'm also a member of Councillor of Winchester Direction. I'd like to thank you for giving me the opportunity to give an updated report on the Berkshire Association of Local Councils, called BALC from now on. It actually seems surreal that you've asked me to your meeting tonight, as when I was chairman of Winchester Parish Council, at that time, I was one of the biggest critics of BALC. We felt the service we were receiving for the cost we were paying was unreasonable. In fact, so unreasonable, we decided to move to Hampshire Association of Local Councils, where at least we were getting time and getting value for money. BALC at that time was in total disarray from a management and financial position. BALC then decided 4 years ago that in order to survive, they joined in a partnership as an agreement with Hulk, who for a fee would allow our members access a number of services: training, information advice, signposting to specialists, including support on council process issues, legal issues, advice on day-to-day council matters, legal support and HR documents, including a standard contract template, grievance and absent policies, and specialist advice. More importantly, access to the member area, which gives each individual councillor, clerk, a broad range of resources, procedures, best practice, legislation, and much more. We're still in that agreement with them. It was 3 years ago that I was invited to join the executive committee of BALC and decided to take up the position in order to try and make changes from within, as the service was still not good. I asked our parish council to rejoin BALC and give me 2 years to try and turn around the situation that BALC were in. There was poor communication, an inactive website, training issues, and general mistrust from the parish clerks, so it was a big task. So what did we do? The first thing was to hold a strategy meeting with Hulk to formulate a plan over the next 5 years. Years to concentrate were to appoint a permanent chairperson. Communication, update the website, give better training courses, a regular newsletter, and last but not least, to improve our executive committee so that we have more skills, experience, and willingness to undertake certain duties. As our numbers on executive were low, it was decided to form a subcommittee of 3 executives to meet 6 weekly to check on progress and suggest to the full committee recommendations for improvements. In March 2023, we invited the BALC larger councils to a meeting, and we were pleased that Wokeland, Thatcher, Early, and Newbury attended. The purpose of that meeting was firstly to examine the possibilities of close working relationships with Bulk, and secondly, how you, the larger councils, can better support the smaller councils in Berkshire. That is actually something I wish you would think about going forward tonight. I'm pleased to say that we now have 10 executive committee members, each of whom have a particular responsibility. This has meant that as a committee, we respond quicker and more effectively to the parish and town councils. An update. Our website is current and effective. Training is provided free. There is a full range of courses, namely 1, what you need to know, a 2-part course for experienced members of staff, clerk, deputies and assistants, budgeting for clerks and officers, make and effective planning and presentations, introduction to local planning for local council, clerk and officers update, the knowledge and core skills for councillors, introductions to finance for officers, introduction to SILCA, and year end for officers and councillors. These two are actually held in Basingstoke. We have 2 training hubs, Shaw House in Newbury and Community Centre in Shinfield. This keeps travelling throughout Berkshire, particularly in West Berkshire, to a minimum. You can access subsidised training to help your teams. We will support financially a course that a parish, town, council might arrange themselves locally, other than the ones I've already mentioned. You will have to allow other councils to participate to be relevant. Twyford recently held a public speaking course that was funded by Bulk. We now produce a bi-monthly newsletter that your clerk should forward to all councillors. Now, here's the interesting bit. The fees for joining Bulk are 21.8p per elector to an electorate of 5,000, reducing to 3.27 per elector. This is capped at £1,600 for larger councils. This has not been increased, and this fee has not been increased for over 5 years by Bulk. But you'd also have to join NELC. This is the conditions. Their annual fee is capped at 1,978 for large councils, which is 7p per elector. Bulk is financially sound, so they offer free courses, and holding our annual fees at the same fee over 5 years is an attempt to reduce our reserves. This year, we put a budget of £12,000 in for training. So finally, as mentioned before, can we examine the possibilities of a closer working relationship? And also, secondly, how you as a large council can better support the smaller parish councils. One way, of course, could be that one of your councillors here tonight could be co-opted onto Bulk's executive committee. I believe I've covered most aspects I wanted to. Now it's over to you for questions. Mike.
Mayor, thank you. Thank you, Owen, for your interesting talk. Some of you may know, you may not know, I have represented authorities on Hertfordshire, Oxfordshire, Buckinghamshire and Cambridgeshire Association of Local Councils. Admittedly not in the capacity as an elected member, I was in the capacity as a clerk to the council, but nevertheless, I think it's very important that local councils in Berkshire work together, share information and knowledge, and take issues that we have forward to the National Association of Local Councils. I've been on many conferences of NALC and the county associations as well, and I don't believe this authority has nominated a councillor to represent Woodley on the Berkshire Association of Local Councils. I would be willing to put myself forward if that is the wish of this council.
I would very much appreciate that, Mike. Thank you very much.
You read? Well,
do the rest of the council wish you to represent them by?
Well, exactly.
Yes, please.
Just going to say, one of the reasons the larger town councils tend not to be a member of BALC is the fact that you are so big. You have a lot of councillors. You also have a lot of staff. You have responsibility for assets and other aspects. So I think you tend to find, because you've got a larger staff, you have a better experience and knowledge of aspects. But there's always the legal side of certain things. I mean, we recently, Pinchester Parish Council, we have a great big park, and the park, on the park, there is a cricket team that wish to expand their pavilion. They've got a lease planned for that aspect. But in order doing so, to expand, they need to get a loan from Sport England. Sport England won't give them the money unless they can have a charge over the land. So the legal aspect was, how can we help them give them that aspect without actually being charged? We actually went legally through help for the legal advice through help, and we found out that it is possible for us to help them with a loan, but actually not have a charge over our property. So that was one of the aspects. Beth.
Thank you, Roland. Forgive me if I don't stand. Many years ago, I represented this council on BALC and did it for many years. When I started, I was the youngster on the committee. It was probably about 30 years ago, so I was considerably younger, and most of the committee were the age I am now. It wasn't a lot of fun. To say it was boring was an exaggeration. However, some of the training and advice that was offered, and they were working, again, I think with Hampshire then, was very good, and this council appreciated some of that. However, as each member of the committee hopped off this mortal coil, the committee gradually died, and BALC became invisible, and has now been invisible for a number of years. So it's good to hear that it has life again and breath, and hopefully, Roland, you're young enough to keep it going for a few years. And I'd be very happy if this council joined BALC and went to its meetings, and we worked with other local authorities, local councils, smaller and larger, to share advice and expertise and learn from each other about what we can do. I think it's a very good idea if we do join.
As I said to you, I was the biggest critic. I went along to several AGMs. It was a tick box exercise.
Not a waiting room.
And all they did was increase the fees so they could pay the people to do no work, or very little work. But it has changed, and we're still growing, evolving, and we've got now 10 executives, but each person has responsibility. So
I've known you enough years to know that if that's what you say, that's what's happening.
Thank you very much.
Roland, sorry. I was actually appointed by this council in 2018. It was to represent this council on BALC. I've been a critic of BALC ever since. First AGM was actually held in the centre here, which I attended.
Just a few years ago.
This was been 2018, it might have been the start of 2019.
That's when I took over as chair.
There was a hell of a lot of criticism from people in the audience. It was an old boys club. I'm particularly keen to hear what you said about changing it around. I did go to a couple of other AGMs afterwards, but that was during the COVID era, so it was online, which made it quite difficult. I was not happy with the accounting process. because they just were in the process of joining HELP at that time. And the remuneration paid by the local councils was not reflected in the accounts. The only thing that was reflected in the accounts was the amount that HELP repaid to BELC. So, which to me was a nonsense, because we want to see what we pay in how that is spent. If a lot of it is going to help, fine, we can live with that. But we want to know and deserve to know what that amount is and what we are receiving from help in respect of that. The agreement is that between the Berkshire Association and HELP is on the website, because the clerks were asking for years, and for some other reason they wanted to keep it quiet. I don't know. We pay, I think, about £70,000 for HELP for their services, but their services that we're getting, of course, with their clerks, and we're making sure that we get feedback from all of the courses that we go on, and that aspect. But we have employed other people because training was awful. And as I said before, with just a few courses, it didn't suit every council. So some councils now pick a course. It's got to be relevant to general council. And because of the reserves that we are willing to sponsor a training. So if you, for example, had a particular training need and you felt that you wanted to, you would have to be open to other councils in order to do that. But we've taken that bit, because someone said, oh, your courses aren't quite what we need, we want this. But if they're relevant, and I mean by relevant to parish, to councils, then we would be interested in funding it. So who was up first? Was it you, Keith, or was it Carol? Shall I say ladies first? Carol.
Thank you. It's really a question to the clerk. I'm happy to propose Mike for our representative, or should that come under item 9 once we're into the agenda? If there's a seconder.
I'm happy to second
We can
that.
do it at that point. That's
Which point?
when we get to outside bodies, we can.
When we get to that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, just to let you know our process is annual meeting, all the slots, including the bulk slots, are available for anyone to put the name forward.
Yes.
And the reason why it's been empty until now, thank you, Mike, is that nobody put their name forward. It wasn't that we said no, it's just that you couldn't find anybody willing to do it. My question is, of those 10 executives, I'm assuming, apart from Woodley, you've got Working Man Early as executive members in there?
Sorry, have we got?
In the 10 executive members,
Yes.
I'm
We're
assuming
representing
they all come from different parishes and towns.
Yeah.
So,
One from Wokingham Town.
and one for Early?
We haven't got one from Wokingham.
Okay.
We're working on that.
I was going to say, 'cause it would be interesting
I've got to
what
go to
their
another meeting.
what their rationale is, why, but that's for another time.
Very briefly, Early have not really, they're probably one of the biggest critics of BELC. And they do have a clerk that is very pointed in the views, but nevertheless, we are changing. And what will happen with the change is they will see the change. And when the change happens, then more people talk about it, then perhaps their views might change.
So my final question, not now, but could you let Kevin know the names of those 10 executives, what parish they're in, and what response? Because I'm very interested in, you've said it several times, each individual exec member has a specific responsibility. And I'd love to see that.
It's on the website.
It's on the website. Okay.
Can I just ask a question about the HELP arrangement?
Yeah.
What's the future plan with that? Because I know the courses that you mentioned are still being run and available through HELP, and we kind of
you have to book them
now got a
actually.
direct
Yeah.
route to them. So I wondered how that was going to work.
No, that's working pretty well. We, of course, BELC don't want, people keep saying, oh, it's helped doing all the courses, but in fact, the sponsorship and the funds come from us. And the initial arrangement would be that they would contact us, but there'd be signposts to help for the booking of the courses. Okay. But as I said, the courses, a lot of West Berkshire weren't attending because where would we want to go all the way to Sheffield for a course? And now we've got Newbury booked up. So we've looked at that aspect of it. That was last year. Oh, hello, Kate.
Are we a member bank now at the moment? I thought we weren't.
You're not a member.
We are.
You are.
I'm looking at Kevin.
Yes, we are. We've been utilising help for the training and support.
Okay, fine. That's fantastic.
So the only thing we don't,
Which is what my
the
mother
only thing we
questioned
don't
about.
do is we didn't have a representative until now.
Are we on now as well then? I mean, are we already paying for the two?
Unfortunately, you do with now, but as I said with now, you do get a higher level specialist help. Should you have a particular problem, occasionally you do get this problem.
I think that is the issue for this council, because Kevin, correct me if I'm wrong, you have direct access to NALC if you have a particular issue
Yes.
as a larger local council.
Yeah.
And there can be, I can see why early are reluctant to join BALC, particularly if there is no county secretary. Am I right? Is there a county secretary in post for BALC?
Oh, let me think. We don't. The answer is no. We do have somebody that would take a minute secretary, but we do not have a secretary at the moment.
You see, all the other organisations, all the other county associations I've had links with have had a county secretary that the clerk can access to and get answers to quick questions if there is one. In the absence of having a county secretary at BALC, that could cause us a problem.
Okay. It's a situation that might be open to any new executive members that might want to join our committee. I'm sorry, but it is one of the things we are working with.
I was approached by Buckinghamshire to become their county secretary before I resigned as town clerk. But I'm open to having my arms.
Previous secretary was so involved with about 8 councils, it would become a joke. So that's the reason why he's no longer with us. Thank you.
Well, I'm passionate about this tier of local government. That's why I've been in it all my life, from leaving school right through to becoming an elected councillor. So it's something I'm very keen to develop.
I'm so glad to hear it, because me being a big, all been criticising BALC for years, because they were so big but not doing much, and then it just all went wrong. And now we're just trying to get it out of the ashes. Phoenix are rising again. Thank you.
Has anyone got any further questions they want to ask of Roland? No? Roland, thank you very much indeed. It's been quite enlightening.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Okay, thank you very much indeed for inviting me. Good night. I hope you have a break. Wait. Thank you very much indeed. No.
Right, thank you very much for that. We now come to the main agenda. Thank you.
Could I make a comment, please, Chairman, if I may? This room's a big room. I attended the last meeting online, and we had microphones on the table and an AI translation, which was very amusing. I hope someone's looked at it to see what it was like. Matt was going to. We are broadcasting this live, and we have no microphones on the table. And it was very difficult to hear on that microphone what's going on. I'm sure if there are any members of the public watching, they won't be able to hear a word of what's going on, and that it really is not good enough. If we are going to broadcast these meetings, we need to do it properly.
Thank you, Beth.
Yeah, I can provide an update. We actually met today with a supplier of a system which we're looking at for individual microphones for each
When
council.
there's a microphone on you, it's very difficult to hear you.
Yeah, so the solution will be individual microphones for use. That will be we're looking at a portable system we can use in here and in the other room. How much that might cost and how that will actually work. So, but that's likely to be the only solution to really get a quality audio that we can then feed into the stream. So we are looking at that now, and there will be a report coming to council soon for funding for that.
Thank you. Can I suggest that when people speak tonight, they pretend they're on a stage? Keith, you might have to give some lessons.
No, Matthew is the expert. He said
so that the
You
public,
did get trained, yes.
the public do actually stand a chance of hearing something instead of, and they can't see our lips to lip read, so they'll hear nothing. And if there's anybody left there already,
The point is taken, Beth. As Kevin just said, they have had discussions today, and hopefully it will be addressed in the near future. But in the meantime, perhaps everyone can just talk a little louder tonight. That would be lovely. Can you hear through the microphone?
I could hear you over there.
no,
I hear you now.
no.
Okay, lesson learned. Please, everyone, if we can talk just a little bit louder. Mike.
Mr. Mayor, we have this evening a question tabled by Councillor Bay. Are we going to discuss this?
I'm going to discuss it under the S&R committee. Right, so the first item on the agenda tonight is apologies. Have we any apologies, Matthew?
Yes, we have apologies from councillors Anderson, Bello, Charles Bay, Edwards, Holmes, Hoskins, Smith and Stone.
Thank you. Item 2 on the agenda.
Sorry, thank you for that, Chair. Matt, Rob is online, but he's just not a participant.
Oh, of course, yes, sorry. Yes.
He is joining us virtually.
So, item 2 on the agenda, any declarations of interest? No. Then we'll move on to item 3, which is to receive the minutes of the full council meeting held on 25th of June 24. The minutes were included with this agenda and can be seen on page 3. Are there any questions or comments regarding these? No. Assuming we are happy with these, can we please move to a vote on accepting these minutes as a true and correct record? All those in favour?
(14-4),
Any against?
none against,
And do you have any abstentions?
abstention.
Thank you. So the minutes have been duly approved as a true and correct record, and I will sign these after the meeting. Item 4, the next item are the actions and follow-ups which are provided on appendix 4 on page 18 of the agenda. Does anyone have any questions or comments about these? No. That is lovely. So we move on to Item. November result. Oh, that's okay. Good. All right, I'm confusing myself. I do apologise. So moving on to item 5 of the agenda. It's remembered simply to note that authorised bank signatories have checked and signed the council's bank reconciliations up to the 30th of June 2024.
Mr. Deputy Mayor, I have been advised by our financial guru over here on the left that the auditor wishes to for me to make a statement because I'm the one who checks the documents and sign them off. I can confirm that I have authorised all the copious documents that
31st of August.
Up to the
31st of
31st
August.
of August. Thank you.
Realise where I went wrong. I've got my agenda open at the wrong page. Right. Moving on to item 6, the committee reports. First one we come is for Planning and Community Committee. Now, unfortunately, Bill Stone, the chair of that committee, is not here this evening. And I've been the deputy chair of the planning meeting. Would like to present the minutes of the 23rd of July 2024, which is shown on page 19. Do any councillors have any questions regarding these minutes? Councillor Chudley.
21. Oh, if I'm allowed to ask this type of on page 21, if I'm allowed to ask this type of question, I just noticed that Woking Borough Council have put forward information for Woking Town Centre, but not for Woodley. Do you know why they have it? Why they're able to have it for Woking but not for Woodley? Item 41. It's the last sentence.
We do return to this later.
Mr. Deputy Mayor, we were told at a meeting of the Strategy and Finance Committee on the 10th of September by an officer from Woking Borough Council that there are football records and they are recorded on our mobile phones. So when we walk around the town, there is a ping on your mobile phone, and that is recorded as being you've attended the town centre. So there is records.
Yeah, just to add some clarification to that, Nikki Phillips came here to talk to us about a project she's working on around town centre strategy for the 3 town centres. And she has, as part of her project, had the funding to do this. So yeah, they have now got like I say, based on the fact that all of us carry around mobile phones. And actually, she was going to send us her report, and I don't know whether it's got to us yet, Matthew. I know Matthew chased her up this week about it, because she did show us all this stuff. It was really quite interesting. And she said she would send it to us, so it's just more nagging really, but it is very interesting, of course, actually factual rather than our perception, so it's really useful. And I think there's a bit more later on the agenda. Somewhere I've read it.
It's in other minutes.
Yeah,
On the conversation we've just had, I'm not clear whether we have this system for checking football in Woodley as well as Woking.
Yes,
that is what you're saying.
And
you said the name of the town.
And in Twyford as well.
And in Twyford.
She's using it. Yes. I assume it's some bit of software. Again, where they're deploying, I don't know, but certainly that for her project, the 3 town centres, she was using it.
And I have certainly seen something on social media about the telephone item recently. I can't recall exactly what it said, but there are football records certainly within the do we have any more questions at all on those minutes? Yeah. Then, assuming we're happy, these minutes are noted. Can I now please ask Councillor Baker, as chairman of the Strategy and Resources Committee, to present the minutes that took place on 6th of August 2024, as set out on page 27 of the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. You can find the minutes on page 27 to 37. This was an extraordinary meeting. It was had 2 items. One regarding some restructuring up at the leisure centre, which spawned additional roles, and the other one was changing catering provider here in the Oakwood Centre, which is now Crumbs. And I must admit, I thought the wines tables looked so much better than previous tables. So I wish them luck. So if there's any questions on that, as long as it's not confidential, I will try and answer.
Not exactly a question, but a couple of Sundays ago, I was with some friends in Crumbs Cafe having coffee, and the coffee grinder was going continually, which made it very difficult to hear conversations. One of my colleagues that was there spoke to the manager, who said it's true about all cafes, which isn't true, and was very offhand about it. I thought that was not very good customer relations, although the coffee was fine, the noise was intolerable, and I'm partially deaf.
Obviously, I can't comment about an external operation, an external retail outlet, but might I suggest you invite your friends, these friends, to the Crumbs here, and sit them down and see if the same noise is there, and if that is the case.
So it was the Crumbs here.
Oh, sorry, I thought it was over in.
No, it was the Crumbs here. We came to have a look at it and test it out.
So I'm not sure, I'm not a coffee drinker, so I can't really comment on how other coffee grinding machines are noisy or not, because I don't drink coffee. But I will ask Kevin to take that away. But if it is the nature of the beast, I don't know what we can do, apart from maybe put the coffee grinder in a different location.
It's right at the front where people sit, but part of it was the way she handled the comment, which was, "I don't care, go away."
Okay, so can I make a general comment then? If anybody's got issues with the level of service, customer service, whether it is to do with the coffee grinding machine or it's the attitude, please don't wait until this meeting, because it potentially that is maybe too late, and it could open you to an accusation of whether you didn't do it as grandstanding. When you've got that, any of your friends have got issues with the way Crumbs are operating, please, immediately pass them on to Kevin, so Kevin can directly manage it in detail. Please don't wait until a meeting like this. Do it when it happens. Thank you.
Do we have any further comments on those minutes? Right, I'm assuming we're happy with these minutes. These minutes are noted. Oh, it's me again. Right, I'd like to present the minutes of the Planning and Community Committee held on Tuesday, 27th of August 24. which can be seen on page 39. Any comments, please, or questions on those minutes? No, then, Councillor.
Yes, just, on page 39, minute 115, on item 51, has a copy of the Woodley design statement been circulated? Oh, to members of the committee, it's just the committee, isn't it? So what?
Best of my knowledge, yes.
Yes.
It was.
It was also captured in the actions and follow-ups for the next meeting of planning that had been completed. So that,
It's on the website.
it's on our website as
Our
well.
website as well.
Are there any more questions at all? Right, then assuming everyone's happy with these minutes are noted. Can I now call on Councillor Firmage as Vice Chairman of the Leisure and Services Committee to present the minutes of their meeting on the 3rd of September 24.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Yeah, I'll present the minutes for the Leisure Services Committee held on the 3rd of September. Are there any questions?
Councillor Taylor.
I hope you'll be able to hear. My dad always said my voice is very piercing. I just had a sort of query on this because I followed this with kind of interest, being one of the Bullmarsh councillors, about what was going on with Weevil Park. And I watched with interest our territorial claims on Reading Borough Council, so you didn't get them to give us that bit of land. But what I kind of missed, and I wonder whether you could sort of fill in the gap, is has the Leisure Services Committee actually had reached an agreement that we do need to do something about the park? And I know this, the note here from Councillor Charles about it, and I kind of share those sort of concerns. I mean, either we think it's kind of redundant as a children's park, which is, a conclusion that you may have came to, and have we talked to anything about the residents around there, about what their aspirations are for it? Or we think we do need a park there, and to be honest, I don't think there is a little children's park that close, in which case it is really very shabby, and considering the quality of all the rest of our parks, in Woodley, I mean, it's a bit sort of shameful, really. But I thought, well, we have to have kind of made that decision first, that we want to do something useful with it, before really we need to even consider about whether, Reading would give us it, which they told us now on the legend that we won't, whether we would want to buy it. Well, again, looking at the minute 25 of this particular set of minutes, we haven't got money to do that anyway, or what we want to do. But I did ask earlier on today how much we are paying for the lease for that patch of ground, and apparently it's £218 a year, which, if we're going to do something with it, sounds very reasonable. And we've also got a lease that runs through to 2031, and Reading have also said that they would consider a longer lease. So I really, after this long-winded chat, just wanted to understand, has the Leisure Services Committee reached a conclusion about the value of that bit of land and what we want to do with it?
Thank you for that. The question, no decision has been reached on that. I mean, it was raised with lots of different parcels of land that we might like to take over, if that's possible, subject to committee. But at the moment, nothing's been decided about Weevil. I know the ownership is a question of it, and that's obviously been raised by Councillor Charles Bay. So I don't know if.
So certainly,
I was going to say,
we've got the question submitted by Councillor Bay here in front of us. It's been really, it relates to the S&R minute, which are just coming up I believe I'm correct in saying Kevin has got the answer.
I guess my question is, though, why are we bothering having these conversations about the ownership of the land, blah, 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 if we haven't made the decision that actually, yeah, it's something that we, it's an asset that we want to use to do something with. Otherwise, we're just wasting officer time.
Well, I'm hopeful that will be explained in the answer.
Can I just add something,
Yeah.
Chair, which was a report did come to Leisure, which had a condition report, the condition of the play equipment, etc., and of the ground for information. But Councillor Bernard is right, that didn't result in any sort of decision or resolution as to what would be done about that. It was then
As I say, just
question
back to front, we're looking at a kind of solution and having these sort of conversations with Reading, what for, if we don't have decided whether we want to do anything. So speaking as an experienced granny, I can tell you it's a bit lame as a park, but we have to make that call first, surely, before we start going into solution mode.
I can just confirm that the Leisure Services meeting on the 7th of November, minute 34, the Leisure Services Committee resolved to request the transfer of ownership of Weevil Park from Reading Borough Council to Woodley Town Council. So that was the resolution.
But to what end?
The legislature, there was nothing in the minutes that suggested to what end, other than to use the information about whether it could transfer or not to then formulate the answer as to whether then the council wished to fund developments.
Then my suggestion is the committee has got itself into a pickle unnecessarily. Decide first whether there's something valuable to do, and then you can then worry about a solution about how you would achieve that. So it may be an idea for the Leisure Services Committee to go back and have a look at that, about what they want to do, because with everything that we do, it's what do we want to do, and then whether and how we can achieve it. So let's do that step first. Otherwise, it's just make work.
Thank you.
I agree with a lot of things you said, Jude, but I do not agree with you trying to direct another committee on how they should operate.
I'm not directing, I'm suggesting.
Well, yes, okay, you're suggesting it's down to that committee, of which there is a Labour member, I assume.
That's kind of nice.
But the point I'm saying is they've already made a decision with a resolution. There is an answer that's come back, and there'll be a next step. What do they do beyond that? At the end of the day, S&R will also be involved, because potentially it could be a major drain on the capital program if we decide what we want to do. The problem with your approach, okay, is if the Leisure Services Committee decided that, you know what, we're going to get a massive theme park in here, without knowing what we can do, what are the constraints on that location? You need to understand the constraints. This is my view, okay, which is obviously different to yours. You need to understand the constraints that are there within that location and fit what you want to do within those constraints. And what the Leisure Services Committee has done already is identified the constraints. If we manage to buy it, the potential investment would be a lot higher than not buying it, and we're actually improving something for somebody else who owns it. So I think you've got the Vice Chairman of Leisure Services. I'm sure Michael and Darren will take all your suggestion in going forward. But I suggest we leave it to that committee, because that's what they're there for.
Firstly, why have we got these minutes in front of us now? It's because we can all make some comments. My comments are intended to be helpful, and nothing that Keith has said is inconsistent with what I've said. All I'm saying is that If you immediately start from the point of view, we can't afford to do anything, and we've had this conversation with so many different committees, then we won't do anything. But that's kind of not a logical way to approach this. At the moment, we've got a patch of land, which we're paying money for every year, and presumably for some time. And its purpose at the moment is supposed to be some sort of play area, and it's not really fulfilling that function. So I think the first thing is you just ignore the costs or whatever. I mean, we're not talking about being a leisure centre there. I think it's just ideally, in an ideal world, what would we like to do? And then you work out how we would get there and if we can get there. So it's not a done deal when you say it would be really nice if we could improve the play facility at Weevil Park. And then you look at it, and that's how you move forward with this stuff, isn't it? You don't sort of cut yourself off before you start to think, oh gosh, that's going to be so difficult. And certain of the things that Keith is saying are, we don't develop land that we don't own ourselves. Well, we do, because we do that at the allotments. So that isn't even a principle that we adhere to, and that is a principle that we need to discuss as a group, not to just say that is written in stone. So what I'm saying is, from an outsider's point of view, we seem to have paired off looking at a solution to this before actually agreeing what it is we want to do. And that's all I'm saying. And I would very much like to see it, the committee come to a conclusion and play it all back to the rest of us so we can see what they decided. It's not difficult.
If you, from my point of view, if you look at item 25 on that agenda, the closing sentence says, instead it is recommended that if such areas exist and are identified by councillors, then these should be highlighted to officers who can then look into them individually. And that is what is going to happen.
This has got actually nothing to do with this, though, David, is it? This was somebody was talking about, and I don't know who it was, about looking at other areas of land. Again, if we were going to do that, I would suggest that before we looked at other
areas of land that are not currently in the town council's ownership.
Right.
And Weevil Park will come under that because it's owned by Reading Borough.
Now, I think my reading of this was talking about other areas of land apart from Weevil. It was talking about extending that. And again, why would we want to do that unless we had a purpose? So if the Leisure Services Committee is considering looking at other pieces of land, I would hope they're not just wandering around Woodley looking for spare bits of grass that nobody owns. It's, have we got a purpose? Do we need this piece of land to do it? How would we achieve it? And personally, as far as that item 25 is concerned, let's not start looking at other bits of land until we've sorted out what we want to do with Weevil.
Keith.
Final councillors, this is meant to be viewing the minutes of the actual meeting. It's not meant to be adding or expanding. It's not meant, for instance, an example, we're almost having a Leisure Services Committee meeting. I think we need to move on. We've got a busy agenda, Mr. Deputy Mayor. I think we've followed this to death. Please.
Okay. I think Councillor now for one opportunity and then we can move on.
Yeah, first I have one question. If any member who is not member of any committee and he or she in full council meeting want to ask something, what happened in that committee, when that councillor should ask?
I didn't quite catch the last bit you said.
Like these are minutes, there will be councillors here who are not member of this committee. When they read this and they want to ask any question during full council meeting, at what stage they can ask?
Well, you can ask a question, but a question is a question to be answered. It's not opening of the debate. and this is beginning to become a debate, which is not the truth. The question is, do these minutes represent a true and accurate record of what happened at that leisure services meeting? That is the, yes.
As we are discussing these minutes, we can't ask questions.
No.
But if any non-member wants to ask any question,
You have been given the opportunity to ask a question, and you have had the answer. Okay? So we are going to move on. I will put this one to the vote. Because
one personal explanation. June said something when she first stood up. Vice chair of committee is here. He didn't reply. Councillor Baker, who is not member of that committee, he is saying that
any councillor has the opportunity to put into writing any comments or complaints they have about a meeting or items in an agenda. If you've got a specific query over that, then please put it in writing, send it to the chair of the Leisure Committee for answering, or to Kevin and Matt. We here are agreeing the records of that minute, the minutes of that meeting.
we were told this in whole 4 years previous.
I'm not going to carry on debating this.
Public wants to listen.
I'm not
We are here to ask.
debating this subject. The record is, do those minutes represent a true and accurate record? Yes or no? Right. Now, for the purpose of equality, I will put it to the vote. All those in favour of accepting those minutes, please put their hand.
I have one question regarding voting.
It's not a true record.
I am going to go to the vote, but to note the minutes. All those in favour of noting the minutes as an accurate record? That's it. Right. Well, we will move on to item 6.4, which again, can I ask Councillor Baker, please, as chairman of that committee, and the minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. I refer to minutes on page, well, it's not numbered, but it's actually for page 49 to 58. I will just comment to you, Matt, my copy has got draft on it, and it's, you can't read some of the words.
No, do you know what? If you look on the next pages, it's exactly the same draft template, and on the other pages, for some reason, it's printed it behind the lettering as it's exactly the same. For some reason, the printer has decided to print it. Sorry.
You don't have draft on, for instance, the legislation.
No,
That's neither here nor there.
digital copy looks fine, but sorry
If
about
there's
that.
any questions or comments, hopefully can answer them.
Before I ask for any comments, Kevin would like to address the questions sent in by Councillor Bay, where you already have copies.
So, yes, just to note, you do have a question there provided separately, which goes over the page on A4 there, which is relating to the matter which has just been discussed in relation to Weeble Park. Minute 26 on page 50 of the minutes there, you can see reference to that and the approaches to Reading Borough Council regarding the transfer receiving negative response. The update in relation to that is that there will be a report coming to the Strategy and Resources Committee meeting in relation to that matter. So that is the next step. There will be a full report with the current status and options coming to the November Strategy and Resources meeting.
Thank you. Can I ask that you send a formal response back to Councillor Bay in answer to his question? Please. Have we got any questions at all on the minutes presented by Councillor Baker? No. Then assuming we're happy with these, noted. The last committee report, again, is planning and community, where I present the minutes on page 59 of the planning and community committee on the 17th of September. Councillors have any questions, please? No, then assuming we're happy with these minutes are noted. Right, moving on to item 7 on the agenda. It's to receive the external auditor's opinion on the audit of the annual governance and accountability return for 23-24, as set out in Appendix 7A on page 67 of the agenda. Kevin, can you set this up?
Yes, of course. Thank you, Chair. So item 7 here is split into 3 sections. 2 of those do require a vote. Section A is to receive the external auditor's opinion, which you can see on page 68 in box 2. You'll see the external auditor has confirmed that sections 1 and 2 of the AGAR, annual governance and accountability return, is in accordance with the proper practices, and they're satisfied that all legislative and regulatory requirements have been met. You will also see in the second box there are some other matters noted which don't affect the auditor's opinion, but which they wish to draw attention of the council. And as stated, they don't affect the auditor's opinion, but are matters for council to address going forwards. The first one relates to an amendment made to the AGAR. This was in relation to public Works Loan Board payment, which was dated 31st of March, which they have been, as this loan was taken out. The repayment of that had been included in the calculation, whereas the payment wasn't actually effective until the 2nd of April. The internal auditor hadn't picked that up either, because historically we'd always done it based on the statement that comes from the Public Works Loan Board, which has been dated like that for the last coming up 20 years. That said, that was picked up and quite correctly, so that was flagged up, and we were asked to just amend that, and that's been amended, which you can see on in box 10 on page 68, which was duly signed by myself and the Deputy Mayor in the absence of the Mayor. The second comment relates to the date on which the exercise of public rights to inspect the accounts on the date of the publication should have stated the day after the day it was published. There's an error, basically a typo of the date, a small mistake, but one that shouldn't have been on there. That will be rectified next year. We'll put something in place to double check that. We'll come to that, publishing that document next year. So that requires a vote to
right. So can we please move to a vote on receiving the external auditor's opinion? Councillor Langworth.
But I have 2 questions. First one is that on page 72, I think you will discuss it later. It's written here in 4th line, by any local government elector. Can it be viewed only by those who can vote? What it means, this term?
No, that's the formal terminology that's used, but actually it's available for anybody.
So anyone can see whether he can vote?
Anybody who wishes to see it, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. And then on page 69, where there is objection, second column, second para, in which it's written that the smaller authority must answer no to assertion 4 of the annual governance statement. When it will be included? This year, next year?
So in next year's AGAR, that box would have to have a no against it to reflect that error. So it doesn't affect the auditor's report or opinion. It's just for transparency purposes to flag that up and make that that clear so that people can see.
And on page 67, it's written here signed by the chair. Whose signature are these and when this meeting was held? Page 67.
So that, yeah, that's signed by the mayor and myself as the chairman of the council and the club.
So we move to a vote, please, on receiving it. Auditor's opinion. Can all those in favour please raise their hand?
That's 16.
Can all those against please raise their hands?
No one.
And is there anyone who wishes to abstain?
No abstentions.
Right, the external auditor's opinion has been duly been received.
Thank you, Chair. So item B, which does require a vote, which is to formally adopt the annual governance and accountability return as audited for the year 2023-24.
So we'll proceed straight to a vote now. Can all those in favour please raise their hands? And all those,
16.
and all those against please raise their hands?
No one.
And do we have any abstentions?
No abstentions.
Item C is simply to note that the notice of conclusion of audit was displayed on public notice boards at the Oakwood Centre and on the council's website on 19th of September 2024, a copy of which is provided in Appendix 7C on page 70 of the agenda. Right, moving on to item 8. The next item on the agenda is to receive a statement from the leader of the council, Councillor Baker. Would you like to provide a statement?
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. First of all, this is my first leader's statement since May, and in between lots has happened on the national arena. The current government has taken control of some huge decisions which have impacted many areas of residents' lives, most of which was not contained in their manifesto. I'm not going to comment on whether the actions are right or wrong, as it would be inappropriate at this meeting. However, I do want to pick up something which has been a recurring theme within that manifesto and the subject of many public statements by senior Labour politicians. That is the topic of trust. I think everyone across all parties agree that the degree of trust between politicians and residents at all levels has hit rock bottom. The reason for this lack of trust is both various and complex, and all political parties have contributed to its demise. Therefore, it appears appropriate that this is probably a good time to remind all town councillors that underpinning all our public activities are something known as the Nolan Principles. These 7 principles cover the areas of selflessness, integrity, objectivity, accountability, openness, honesty, and leadership. When we were elected and signed the Declaration of Acceptance, we were agreeing to abide by these principles. If we deviate from at least one of these, it impacts the standing of that person who breached that principle, but also councillors in general and the town council specifically. So, for example, take Principle 6, honesty. When communicating through newsletters or even social media, residents are looking for statements to be truthful. They deserve that. When a councillor states something that is clearly incorrect, with evidence proving that, it just adds more fuel to the fire of lack of trust. So please, can I ask all councillors to be mindful of these 7 principles, especially when communicating directly with residents. Do not forget, breaching any of these can prompt a code of conduct complaint, which I'm sure none of us want to actually have. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Baker. But I'll move on to item 9, is to receive the written reports from town council representatives on outside bodies as provided on appendix 9 on page 71 of the agenda. Do we have any queries or questions, please? Councillor Kennedy.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, the meeting of the Woodley Volunteer Centre, of which I'm on, would have taken place this coming Thursday, the 26th of September. Unfortunately, Karen Todd's father passed away a few weeks ago, and I just wonder whether it would be appropriate if the town council could send a letter of condolences to Karen on the passing of her father.
I think that would be a big...
She's the coordinator of the Woodley Volunteer Centre.
Her husband.
Your husband is the chairman as well. So.
Yes, you're right if I contact you, Mike, just to
yes.
details.
Thank you. Do we have any other comments on the outside bodies?
Can we do the voting for Mike on the block?
Oh, yeah.
Let you.
Sorry.
It's the wish of the council.
Can I propose? Can I propose Mike takes on that vacancy? Can I have a second?
Okay.
No, okay, Carol.
Thank you, Carol, for your.
Can we take a vote on that? Please, all those in favour of Mike?
Let's not put his hand up.
I'm not going to vote.
14 for.
Do we have any against?
None against.
Are there
I'm not
any?
going to vote.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations. Right, sorry, we had Julie.
Just a quick question for Mike. I noticed the parish liaison committee, there's a whole list of sort of topics suggested there. Can we send you other topics?
Absolutely. I think this is an excellent opportunity for councillors to put their suggestions. If it's agreed by council, I will take them to this parish liaison meeting at the next appropriate time. But I thought it'd be of interest to members just to listen, so that you can get an idea of what the current topics are being discussed at the liaison meeting.
Outside bodies. Oh, okay.
I'm on the Bowls Club Management Committee. Unfortunately, it's tonight, so I couldn't make that. But it is the last meeting of their year. They finish at the end of September, so they're doing very well anyway. So, all right,
Couldn't hear that.
I am sorry. It's the last meeting of the management committee of the Bowls Club tonight, and it is tonight, as I say, so I couldn't be in two places at once, but the year finishes at the end of September, so therefore there will be very much to contribute anyway. Right?
While we're doing this, Robert Palmer Arms Houses, of which I'm the representative, we don't meet until next week, or the 7th of October. That's why there's no report on that. So, item 10 on the agenda are the mayor's engagements. Well, since the last meeting, the events which have taken place are set out in appendix 10 on page 21 of the agenda. I must admit, from a personal point of view, I've particularly enjoyed the 3 visits that I have done. The Beyond Sight Games was unbelievable to see partially sighted shot putting or taking part in karate and indeed swimming as well. It was something that will live with me for a long time. Yeah, it was a magnificent day. And again, keep mobile. The AGM was a standard AGM, and they're doing well. And welcoming Volunteers Centre, the 50th anniversary, was very enjoyable. It was nice to meet volunteers from areas that you don't normally get involved. Item 11 on the agenda is future agenda items. Has anyone any items that they wish to be included in the future agenda? Martin.
Yeah, in fact, it's not a future item. I just want to ask one question to Town Clerk. Yes, I will email you as well. If you can check standing orders, there is a standing order related to matters to be confidential, and then it's written that it can be disclosed in public interest. So I have a few questions about that. I will email you. Not long ago, a few councillors didn't read 60-70 pages because they thought it's very technical detail, and it caused huge loss to Woodley Town Council. So as councillors, at that time it was confidential. I will send you details and then you can answer. Because I think as councillors, it's our duty, if anything is reported like this, we should share with public, or anything is said against school children, we should also disclose it to public. Thank you.
Has anyone else got any future agenda items? Councillor Baker.
Future agenda items, and sincere apologies to the council. I was meant to do this at the beginning of the meeting. Those of us who've been around for a bit of time will remember a dynamic duo who were mayor and mayoress, Councillor Brian Franklin and his wife Pam. Brian recently contacted me and told me that unfortunately his wife Pam had passed away at the end of August. I am liaising with Brian in terms of the funeral and what any contacts for your donations or whatever, and I will pass that through to the town clerk to pass on to anybody who wishes to react to that. For those of you who weren't around when Pam in particular and Brian were mayor and mayoress, they were so enthusiastic that they would do 2, 3, 4, 5 events a day for 365 days a year if they were asked to. They loved it. They lapped it up. And Pam, again, this is really for the benefits of the people who hadn't met them and met her. Her level of sartorial elegance was unmatched. She was like someone coming out of Vogue or one of those Vanity Fair. She was always immaculately dressed and perfect manners, almost like a throwback, actually, sort of 10 years previously. I, with your indulgence, and I know Better is probably wanting to say something, then after that, if we could have, if you agree, a minute's silence for Pam. I'll sit down there.
I was going to echo that. They were a delightful couple and were actually at the armistice thing last year, I think.
Yeah.
Both with smiles on their faces. Could we send a card of condolence to Brian from the council, please? He spent a lot of hours working for us.
I'm just trying to get the address. He's currently moved out of his property. It's being prepared to be sold. He's living with his daughter up in Abingdon. So as soon as I get that address, we'll do it, because I'm sure there'll be individuals who want to do it, there'll be parties who want to do it, and the town council definitely want to do it.
Yeah. Can we have that minute silence then, please? Right. Moving on to item 12, publicity and website. Does anyone have any items that wish to cover?
I certainly think we should share any good news about the King's Orchard Garden.
Yes. Anyone else got any items? Right, well, if nothing else is said, I call this meeting to a close at 9:23 p.m.